with an acknowledgement of country. So UNSW Founders acknowledges and pays respects to the traditional owners of the land upon which we meet today. So for me, that's the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. And we also pay our respects to the elders past, present and future. If you know the people that are the traditional owners of your lands on which you are meeting, please drop it into the chat. We encourage you to do so. Okay, next slide.
Great.
Sorry.
Can you? Sorry guys, workspace.
You're good.
You're good.
So
this is our Zoom etiquette. So again, please mute yourself and remain on mute unless it's your turn to speak. If you have any questions, we'll invite you up later. Videos, please have your videos on for the duration of the session if possible. If you're not comfortable or you know, like sharing a workspace like me, and it's not possible, that's totally fine as well. Might be using some of the footage for, as you would have noticed, some social postings or the showcase reels. So if you're not comfortable, you can switch them off. Any questions throughout the session, you can use the raise hand function so that we can easily spot you, or you can add it to the chat.
So we thought we'd just kick off with just a brief intro about us, because as you know, we are program managers and program coordinators of New Wave, but we do have a few things that we like to do outside of the program. So yeah, my name is Victoria. My mum calls me Victoria Rose. But if you hadn't guessed already, I am from New Zealand, so I have a bit of an accent. But basically, I moved to Australia to pursue a job in positive psychology and EI. I loved that. It was a great space to work in, but I am super passionate about coaching. And so I'm very pleased to be here with all of you and really excited to see all of your journeys come into fruition. And yeah, aside from that, I love being outdoors. I'm a bit of a nature freak. I'm always outside, always exploring, and I can't wait for lockdown to finish so I can get back out into the mountains. KP.
Amazing, great. A bit like Tori, love getting outside. I picked up a surfboard just before this lockdown, so haven't been out in a couple of weeks, but I'm definitely loving learning new skills like that are a bit physical. Now that the gyms are shut, it's quite sad. We need to burn some energy some other ways lately. And a fun fact about me, I had my first job when I was 4. I was on a TV commercial for the Cookie Man. And that was, I don't know if you're as old as I am, that was a store where you could buy lots of different types of cookies that I would religiously go to every day. And then one day it just got popped out, or I guess you could say discovered on my daily cookie buying excursion. And yeah, that was it. I got $50 for it and I bought 2 new dresses, I believe. So if anyone knows, you know, 90s fashion, yeah, it wasn't great. I definitely should have invested in crypto back then if it existed. And that's a bit all about me. We'll get to know each other as we go on this journey together, and you know, after. So we'll kick off.
So here's just a rundown of how tonight's session will go. So we've obviously done the welcomes, the intros. We'll move on to a bit of housekeeping, and then we're going to do some icebreakers, and we will break out into breakout rooms, which will be facilitated by our lovely New Wave alumni. And then at 5, we have the lovely Danielle, Owen, Whitford joining us as our guest speaker. And we will be interviewing Danielle, having a bit of a fireside chat, and we will then follow that with some Q&A. And then after that, we'll just be closing out with some pre-programmed tips and just letting you know how you can prepare for our first session on Monday.
Yes, and just for that fireside chat, we'll be introducing Chatham House rules. Is anyone familiar with this concept? Can't see anyone's faces because of my video settings at the moment, but if you're not, just means that whatever's said during the session, please don't share it on any external platforms without the person's permission who said it. So what stays in New Wave, or what happens in New Wave stays in New Wave.
So by now, hopefully you've jumped into Airtable and you'll see your timetable as your Bible. So please bookmark it, but make sure that you refresh it each morning, because links are dropped in to things like recordings, and if you don't refresh them, they won't show up. Slack, if you haven't downloaded it already, please do so. It's a great way to connect with your fellow cohort, and also a really quick and easy way to get in touch with myself and Kristen. And you'll just see that our response times down there are just 8:30 till 6. Just if there is anything urgent, we do have a little bit of a break whilst we have some downtime, but do just send us a message in either Slack or emails, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can.
And DMs and emails, we really, it's such a large cohort. We have, close to 75 of you, and then with the mentors and speakers as well that are collaborating on this program, we just ask that everyone please consider using the Ask Cohort 8 Slack group or the Ask New Wave team channel for any questions. If we can answer a question in an open forum, that might mean that we'll have to answer one less email, because they'll see the question has been answered in that forum. If you miss a session, make sure that you let your team know. That's something that you'll have to make up for by splitting up the work some other way. And then if you miss more than 25%, you risk forfeiting your LinkedIn badges and your eligibility for the showcase and prize money. So keep in mind, you can make up for missed sessions by booking in with a coach to go over what you missed. And we'll share with you the coaches gallery.
So team matching event happened last week. Hopefully you've all entered your team names and the teammates that you would like to have join your team for this boot camp. If there is anyone that hasn't got a team yet, please do stay on the call at the end of tonight, just so that we can have a discussion with you and see what we can do to help you out. We can have a discussion with you and see what we can do to help you out.
Oh, I think someone's maybe off mute. Could you take a look at that, please? For mentors, the team leaders will be connected via email. I think about 80% of you would have received that connection email, and the remaining will be connected on Monday. Please remember those team leaders to invite your teams to those agreed meetings, and go through the mentor and mentee 101 guide that we sent you in your first meeting, and get your team up to speed. Follow that pre and post meeting procedure, including logging each of those mentor meetings using the form and the online link provided. You can email Phil Doran, his email's here, for any issues with the mentor form. And don't worry, you will receive this slide deck after this session. So if you haven't written that down, or you don't have a fish oil every day, so your memory is a bit patchy like me, then that's fine. You can come back to this.
So we are going to have you all jump into breakout rooms now. If you just give us just a second to make sure that your hosts are in each of those rooms, we will be sending you off in just a second.
Has anyone done a little bit of a stalk to see who our next speaker is, or our first speaker of the program? We are about to learn a lot more about her. Danielle, I'm trying to find you in the screen. I can see your name, but do you want to give me a wave?
Yeah. Hello.
Hello, Danielle. Thanks so much for coming. Before we pass the floor over to you, Danielle, we would just love to just give you a bit of an introduction for those that haven't heard of you before. So Danielle Owen Whitford is a former business executive that has ventured into the startup world. After more than 20 years of working with big enterprises, Danielle left the corporate world and was driven to build an artificial intelligence platform. And that platform was based around Indy, which is a bot that sees the early warning signs of stress and then helps people manage it before they burn out, or even worse. Danielle is an innovative, forward-thinking entrepreneur who is transforming the lives of people in the mental health space through technology. And needless to say, we're very lucky to have Danielle here with us this evening. So if you can, I would love for you to all join with me in giving a round of applause, a virtual round of applause for Danielle. And thank you so much for joining us tonight, Danielle.
Thank you. I'm trying to give you a virtual bow. It's very hard actually on screen. Thank you very much, Victoria Rose. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you all. See you all.
To kick us off, Danielle, we would love if you could please share with us just like a brief 60-second pitch on Pioneera, your startup, and tell us a bit about where the idea came from and how it started.
Yeah, I'm very happy to. So Pioneera is the Grammarly for mental health. So we look for linguistic indicators of stress and wellness in your language. And we help you by giving you a recommendation in real time so you can reduce your stress before it becomes chronic and leads to burnout. So that's what we're doing.
Amazing. And to expand on that, Danielle, I'd love to know what your why is behind your startup and
yes.
How does it align with the vision for your company?
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I did the pitch and then forgot the rest. It's 5 o'clock on a Friday. Forgive me. I've spent way too much time talking to people today. So my background, as you said, Victoria Rose, is large corporate. So, and I loved it. I loved everything that I did there, but I saw more and more around me that people were burning out and they were just chronically really struggling, particularly under the weight of stress and the expectations in working life. And I could see that people were struggling because I'd pick it up in their emails. I'd see emails that would come to me and say, here we go again. I don't want to do this anymore. And I would step in where I could and help that person, or at least give them a space to sort of deal with that issue themselves. And then I kind of stepped out one day. I was just so burnt out and had enough that I thought the only option was to leave my job, which of course was not at all the only option, but it was the only option I felt I had at the time. And so then I stepped out and had a bit of time out and sort of thought about what had happened. And I felt like a real failure, to be honest. I thought, how can everyone else cope and I can't cope? Like, what's wrong with me? And that became my why. So what I decided at that point was that I wanted to be able to prevent this happening for other people. I could see through my experience that there was an opportunity to solve this. So what I wanted to do really simply was just automate what I had done. I'd seen someone was struggling because of their language and I had stepped in and helped them. And I thought, I am but one. What if we could automate that? Wouldn't that be cool that we could get people proactive, preventative health before it escalated into something that was a problem? So that kind of became my why. The technology component, I wanted to create the now Grammarly, but at the time I was thinking about like a spell checker for stress, was the technology, and that kind of was the beginnings of a startup. I had no experience in startups. I didn't even know what a startup was. Someone said to me, "Oh, that's a startup." And I'm like very naively said, "What's a startup?" So that was that was the start of this road that I've been on now for the last couple of years.
Yeah, wow. And did it start off as a side hustle, or did it become a full-time business for you straight away? How did you make the leap?
Yeah, look, it wasn't. I would like to say it was a really linear, straightforward transition from corporate into startup, but that wasn't my experience. I know a lot of people have that experience. I had stepped out of corporate already, so I'd had like a month off. I'm a single mum. I took my kids on holidays. I was doing the mum thing of walking them to school and coming home and going, what do I do now? And I said to my friends, I'm going to take a year off and have a break. And then 6 weeks later, I started doing some consulting and started, investigating things. And then the She Starts program, which is a program run for female founders, very much like this one, but for non-technical female founders. So I started that program and we started building the business. It was pretty, I'd say, easygoing in the beginning. I didn't really know what I was doing, to be perfectly honest. And I was also consulting. So I was doing a little bit of both. I wanted to put food on the table for the kids. So I was doing a little bit of both in the beginning, but very quickly, like within kind of 6 to 12 months, it became more than just a full-time job, as startups often do.
And what was the moment that you realized you were onto something and that you had the confidence to to go on this project full time and, you know, turn it into a full-time gig?
I think there's points that get you to the next point. Is my reflection now that I've been a couple of years in. So when I had the first conversation with Nicola Hazel, who was running She Starts at the time, and she's like, "Oh my God, you need to apply for the program." I'm like, "Oh, maybe there's something there." Then I did the pitch and got into the program. They were like, "Oh my God." And then I had we had ANZ was a sponsor of the program, and they wanted me to MVP the product with them, which was great. So I did a couple of MVPs with them. And there are a couple of moments where people were like, "Wow, this could be really big." So those moments kind of happened along the way, which were good because it got me to the next step. And then now we've had a couple of bigger things. So we won a pitch competition earlier this year. We got recognized by Fast Company, as I mentioned, in World Changing Ideas. So we've kind of now got even bigger recognition to go, "Oh, that's kind of cool." So I think those points really just get you to the next point. I don't know if there's ever a finish line. It's the one thing I think that's interesting about startups. Sorry, someone's just put in the chat. So MVP is a minimum viable product. And I'm happy to, and you'll learn this as you go, but I'm happy to explain our process. But I don't know that you ever really feel like you get to the end, because as you go, the whole way that we run startups is really about like starting with something that you think it might work, and then testing it with customers, and testing and rebuilding and testing and rebuilding. And so I have a vision about what I want to do, but I don't know how I'll get there, and will I get there, and will that vision change in time? So I think those steps to validate the next big step is what I would be looking to.
And you mentioned, you know, you won a few competitions and assuming, you know, prize money from those. And thank you for providing that glossary term for minimal viable product. There'll be so many during this program that we'll be teaching the new wavers. And I guess that'll frame my next question. We'll teach them a few more now. So for new wavers who are not aware about funding for startups, there's bootstrapping, which is basically financing yourself and living off 2-minute noodles and free events where there's food provided. Back before COVID happened, that's pretty much what Founders was known for, throwing good events for startups and having an incredible entertaining and food budget. And there's the 4 Fs, which is family, friends, and fools funding, and like debt and bank loans, credit cards, equity, which is investment from angels, seed funding, and Series A, B, C, D. And then one that doesn't get talked about a lot, revenue. So Danielle, how did you fund your startup primarily?
Yeah, I think so I started with some funding out of She Starts. So part of the She Starts program was some funding to get started, which was great, but that came, you know, with equity. So they basically invested in the company and we got some funding. I quite like accelerator programs that invest some money, because it gives you the capacity to start building something and the support, because money is just money. And it's very important, don't get me wrong. And we all want more of it. But what you actually need when you're building an early stage business, as much as the money, is the support and the mentoring and the knowledge and the connections. That's really what you want to accelerate your growth. You want to know the right people. So that, I think, is what accelerator programs give you, along with the money to be able to action that. So we got some money early on, but that's never enough to get you where you need to get to. So I, as I said, was working as well, because the business didn't pay me for a good couple of years. It was only at the beginning of this year that the business was able to start paying me a salary. So I did some, as I said, consulting work on the side, and we bootstrapped for as long as we could. So we used revenue, we did paid pilots, we applied for the MVP grant that the New South Wales government has to get your first kind of product off the ground. So I'm sure you guys will be talking about it at New Wave, but definitely something to look into. I didn't feel that, and I still don't feel that we're ready for VC funding. I guess the one thing maybe I'm a little bit different to others. There's a lot of talk about the fact that you need to go out and get VCs to back your product. That's one avenue, but it's not the only avenue. And your product needs to be, your business needs to be at the stage that VCs want to invest, which is usually you're earning already quite a bit of revenue, or you've got a product that is just already starting to really fly. So they'll look for, repeatable sales. And most businesses in the early days aren't at that stage. So it's important to think about how you might be able to continue to progress before you can get to that, and that might never be the right thing for you. So it's just definitely something to consider. I don't think, Kristen, you know, the whole you have to work yourself to death and eat sort of, you know, ramen and stuff like that. I think that's one view of startup founders. I think what I'm observing now over the last 6 to 12, maybe 18 months, is that there's a maturity of people coming in to be entrepreneurs and start businesses, and their parents and their grandparents and their people that have got other skills. So I think you can start a business and be an entrepreneur and not have to, you know, be scrounging off friends and living on lounges. Financial stress is a real thing. So if you can continue to work part-time to support yourself while you're building your business, I think that's pretty important. And look to alternate ways of getting some money. But the best sort of measure really is growth. If people will pay for it, great, then that's a good thing.
Yeah, so you must be obviously at the point now where you're able to pay yourself, which often comes with being able to pay other team members. Have you had some hires that you've done and had people joining your team, and what has that been like?
Absolutely. I mean, I paid my team long before I paid myself. So that's one of the reasons why I paid myself last just now, because I was paying my team. So I have a CTO, and he's been absolutely instrumental in helping us build the product because it's a tech product. And we've got a couple of people in the development team that have been building it with us. One thing to have a think about at this stage is, what sort of product are you trying to build? I assume you're all tech founders because you're in a startup program, but what sort of product are you wanting to build? So some products are actually quite easy these days. You can use no code. You can do a lot of this stuff yourself. We chose, as someone said to me in the very early days, you could not have made it harder for yourself. I'm a solo female founder, first time startup. I'm doing digital mental health, which no one got in 2018. And we're doing enterprise, which is the hardest thing to connect to. So I kind of hit the trifecta of, could you make it any harder? But we build enterprise tech, which requires us to connect to enterprise system, which requires a massive amount of security and compliance and stuff like that. So we are building a very complex product. So a lot of our effort in the early days needed to go into having the right technical people to build a technical product. Have a think about that as you go forward, because particularly as you're trying to get your customers engaged, there's really simple ways of doing that before you have to build really complex products. So and then that will help you say, well, how do I use my funds most effectively? Who do I bring into the team? Our CTO, my CTO, has been a fantastic hire. He's an instrumental part of the team, not just in terms of building tech, but from a leadership point of view. He's good to bounce ideas from. He's got great connections. This is his 4th AI startup. So it's worth.
Sorry, now, how did you find your CTO?
Yeah, look, I was very, sorry, I just saw that question. I was just prattling on there.
Yeah, you do. It's all good.
I met him through She Starts, actually. We went to San Francisco as part of the program, and he was leading an AI startup in San Francisco, an Aussie guy that wanted to come back home. And we started chatting because we both had AI startups. And then he's like, oh, I'm coming back to Australia. And then he was just helping me out with a couple of things. And then all of a sudden he joined the team. And then 3 years later, he's a really, really important part of the team. So you can meet, team members anywhere, really.
Absolutely.
And you hear, especially with technical skills, if you're not a technical founder, it's like, you bring on that CTO as part of the team, one of the first and early hires, or, you outsource it. Did you ever at any point building any products have to outsource the tech, and like, how did that go for you, and what's the process like?
Yeah, well, part of the Blue Chili offering was that they built the tech as part of the initial program, was that they got you to a point where you had an MVP that you could test in market, and then you could take that, get customers, and evolve it from there. So we did have that. As I said, that our product is quite complex in the way that it's not complex in the way customers engage with it, but the back end, I like to think about it like the plumbing in a house, that is very complex. So we needed technical expertise to do that. I think there's a lot of no code and stuff around today that you could use depending on what your product actually is. But if you are going to outsource, I would see if you could find a technical advisor. So, through this program, you'll meet lots of great people. If you have any mentors that are technical sort of technology experts that can mentor, talk to an expert about what you need to look for in a consultant or an outsourcer that's going to work for you, because it's really easier if you're a non-technical person to get swayed with stuff that you don't know that you need, or not ask for stuff that you feel that you do need. I felt quite underconfident because I didn't know technology, and I actually had a technology person say to me once, leave the smart people to do it, which, you know, my partner was listening into it as a conversation. It was like a Zoom chat, and my partner, who is a technical person, he was just like, he was on the other side of the screen. He was like, oh, I didn't even realize that was offensive until after the call. I was just so used to being told I had no idea what I was doing. So you want to find someone that can really give you some good, solid advice and get a really tight brief. If you're going to outsource anything to anyone, regardless if it's technology or if it's marketing or if it's sales or whatever, make sure you've got a very tight brief. This is my objective. This is what I want to achieve. This is what I want my customers to achieve. This is the time frame. This is what I'm willing to spend. Like, be very, very specific. You are the CEO of your business. Took me a while to figure this out. So you be specific with people if you're going to pay them or even not pay them as to what you want to achieve from it.
Love that. That is very solid advice. Thank you so much for sharing that, Danielle. Which also makes me think about how important leadership is as an entrepreneur. And I'd love to hear from you what you think makes a good leader.
I think in the entrepreneur space, I think the things that make good leaders are very similar to some of the things that I would have seen in corporate, but I'd add a couple of extras. So I think good leaders in entrepreneurs are actually really, really good at selling the vision of what they want to achieve, because often entrepreneurs are doing something that people can't, it's very hard for them to relate to, because you're usually doing something that's kind of, you know, pretty different. It might be big, it might be small. It doesn't matter how big or whatever it is, but you're usually trying to create a solution or solve a problem. So you want to be able to sell that vision to those around you. So I think that is pretty important. I think anything in entrepreneur, you need to be resilient. So I think resilient is really important, because you will get told no 9 times before you get 1 yes, and it's just something to get used to and not to take it personally. So that's a really important thing to remember. I think it's also, you want to be, have the traditional kind of leadership skills. You want to be approachable. You want to be transparent with people. You want to be open to opportunities when they come to you. You need to be able to engage with stakeholders, all of that kind of stuff that you would expect as leaders. And you also, as an entrepreneur, as an entrepreneurial leader, don't want to ever be afraid to ask for help. So we think we need to do this alone. We think we need to solve the problems of the world on our own, and we don't know who to turn to for help. You're in a great program now with great mentors and great advisors and great colleagues. Talk to people and ask for help. You don't need to solve all the problems of the world, because most of them have been solved. And to accelerate your growth, lean on the people around you. So I think that's an important skill that sometimes women in particular don't use enough.
And it's not all rainbows and lollipops. There's some glossy articles and advertisements about entrepreneurship would make people believe. And you did mention resilience is so important as a founder. Can you tell us about a time or a challenge that really made you dig deep and question, I guess, this leap, and how you overcame it with bolstering your resilience?
Yeah, look, frequently, I don't think it's ever sunshine and rainbows. I know I read those articles myself and I'm like, who are these people and where have they come from? I think that you have to be extremely, extremely wedded and passionate about whatever problem is that you're trying to solve. And I do remember hearing that in the early days and thinking, oh, really? And the reason is because this is a tough journey. So if you're not completely committed to the problem that you're solving, you'll give up because it just becomes too hard. And every step is a challenge, because you're trying to convince people of something that they don't really want to do. So ANZ's a good example. Someone asked, what was the challenges we faced with testing the product? So we had someone that really, really, really wanted to use our product at ANZ, but we required technology to approve us using the product with their system. We couldn't get them to do it. Just wouldn't do it. There are a whole lot of reasons that I don't need to go into now, most of which had nothing to do with us. just wouldn't do it. So that was a really sort of disappointing point, because we'd gotten it to where we were so excited, and then it just kind of stopped completely out of our control. So then I had to kind of take a step back and regroup and think about, okay, well, what are our other options? And so we went to them and said, actually, how about you download this product that people are using called Slack that is outside of your technology system, and let's just run the pilot and the test in that product. It's completely separate to all the other ANZ stuff, so no risk. And then we can see how that goes. So they went and got permission from the risk team. They said, great, sort of, ring fenced it so it wasn't affecting anyone else in ANZ, and we ran the pilot. It went really well. So that is kind of a good, I guess, example of where I had to not take it personally, because you can't control most of the decisions actually that affect you, but go, right, okay, if I'm really committed to this, and I was, what are my other options, and move forward with the customer that way.
And have you ever had to deal with imposter syndrome, like even back in the days of corporate?
Yes, I'm not umming to say no all the time. I think the thing I find most interesting about imposter syndrome is that everyone has it. It's just about whether or not you know you have it and the degree to which you have it. The thing that I find quite interesting is that I frequently talk to people about things, and they will go, oh, that's cool, or how did you do that, or whatever. And the things that I find easy are often the things that they're giving feedback on. But because they're easy to me, I don't realize that they're actually important, because I can do them quite easily. Then I focus on the things that I feel like I can't do. So I feel like I'm not really good at asking for money from investors. I feel like I'm not really good at asking for money from customers. I feel that that's something I struggle with. So when I'm in a conversation with a customer and I want them to buy the product, all I can focus on is the fact that I'm going to get to the point of asking for money, and I know I'm not good at it, which is probably crap. But I think that's something that, again, becomes imposter syndrome. You go, well, should I really be here? People are going to figure out I have no idea what I'm doing. I did quite a bit of reading on, I did quite a bit of reading on imposter syndrome and how to deal with that. And what I do in that situation is I just take a breath and calm down, firstly. But then I say, actually, I have every right to be here because I'm as passionate about this solution as anyone else. And I come back to, I know my product and I know my company better than anyone. So I'm going to explore with this person in front of me, and I'm just going to see where it goes from there. So that's kind of how I talk myself off the ledge. And as someone said before, fake it till you make it.
Yes, fake it till you make it. It's definitely one of my strategies.
Same, I definitely do that as well. And as you know, like New Wavers are assigned mentors. So I'd be interested to know who your role models are, or the mentors that you have in your life, and how this has helped you on your entrepreneurial journey.
I've been so lucky. I've had some great mentors, both in the corporate world and in the startup world. I found the startup world actually to be very generous and very supportive, particularly of early stage founders. So you're in good hands, and you're in a good network. So I've had, Nicola Hazel, as I've mentioned already, who was the program founder of She Starts When I Did It. It doesn't exist in the same format anymore. She's been incredibly supportive and continues to be now. I've got some board members. Actually, we started an advisory board a couple of years ago, all of whom are good, strong mentors for different reasons. And they've helped me on my journey and helped challenge the sort of leader that I am. And when I think I'm not good at something, tell me that I am, or when I think I am good at something, say, so that's been really, really valuable. I think what I reflect on my time with mentors is that you want to feel a bit like, if you've got a coach or something, that you're a good fit. So do you kind of click? Do you feel comfortable with them? Because you will be sharing a lot of stuff that you're uncomfortable with, and you should. If you're not sharing your challenges and pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone, then you're not really an entrepreneur, I think, because that's what entrepreneurs, that's what we do. So you want to have a mentor that you feel comfortable with, to have those difficult, conversations, to take their advice, someone that you respect. I would say don't have too many mentors, because sometimes they'll give you conflicting advice, and then you're just having to figure out who you listen to, and all for good reasons, but everyone has different experiences. So I would have a think about, is there a gap that you feel that you have that a mentor can help fill that gap, because really the role of the mentor is to share their advice and experience with you to be able to accelerate your learning. So that's what I would be looking for in a mentor, and keep it to sort of a select one or two or few group of people.
Yeah, that's some fantastic examples of good mentors and role models to have in your life. Aside from the people that are on the ground helping you, do you have people that you look to for inspiration, whether it's podcasters, authors, TED talkers?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I love Brene Brown. Who doesn't love Brene?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I like her stuff. And I listen to all of her stuff, which is really good. I quite like Brendan Burchard, who does the high performance team stuff. I always think that he's really useful. There's lots of people in the startup world that have podcasts and stuff like that, but I tend to stick to Harvard Business Review and those sorts of business publications, I guess, that our customers are reading, so we can leverage that. One of the things actually I found really useful, and you guys can get on this straight away, is that people like Blackbird and Airtree, they do, and Startup Vic and stuff, actually, they're quite good at this. They do weekly emails and they give you a bit of an overview as to some stuff that's happened in the startup community. And sometimes that's people that have raised money, or sometimes that's people that have put a new product into the market. And usually there's some sort of useful information. So there's a podcast or there's an article or something that they're recommending. I have found those to be really useful, and actually Blackbird, Airtree and Startup Vic are the three that I would read when they come into my email box. So I would look at, like, you can get onto the mailing list really easily for those, and that gets you up to date pretty quickly about what's happening in the industry. The other one I quite like from a publication, and sorry, Victoria Rose, I've kind of gone a bit left from the
You're welcome to.
is Smart Company. So Smart Company has a daily email again, and that's sort of small business in general. And I think that's quite helpful as you're starting a small business too. So they're the things that I tend to read.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing those.
You're welcome.
And I guess finally, we'd like to tap your wealth of experience as a woman founder. Can you share with us any of your top tips or suggestions for successfully starting, launching and growing your startup?
Oh, isn't that so funny you say successfully, because I just keep thinking, oh, are we successful? There goes, oh my God, there's my imposter syndrome right in front of you all. I think that a couple of pieces of advice I would give is, firstly, just get started, right? Because there is never going to be the right time. There is never going to be the perfect solution or the perfect answer. Like, it just doesn't exist. So just get started. And the fact that you're in this program means you've gotten started. So yay, you're on your way. That's the first step that you've achieved. I think the other thing is to be kind to yourself, because you will constantly you'll constantly see that there's things that you haven't done or you can't do or you want to do. So you could always feel like you're failing, or you could celebrate the successes of the small steps that you've had. So you've put your hand up for a program, you're here in the program. So I hope you're all celebrating that, because that's a really good step forward and something that you should. So I think that's kind of important. As a female founder, I would, I'd not worry about it, right? So I don't think about myself as a female founder. I think about myself as a startup founder that is early stage and is struggling to figure out how to take the next step half the time. But, I'm a startup founder like everyone else. I think the opportunities for female founders are different, which is good. Sometimes not good, actually. But what I would do is that, there will be some pitch competitions that get you some money. There will be some programs such as this one that you'll get access to. So they're some of the things to definitely look out for. But other than that, I wouldn't sort of worry too much about that you're a female founder. You could look at all the stats, and you could look at all the, only 4% of female-led business get VC funding and blah, blah, blah. I mean, and you'll do your head in. If you worry about all that, you will absolutely just do your head in. My philosophy, and I was pretty successful in corporate, was just not to worry about that I was a woman and just get on and do the job and do it to the best of my ability. You probably will have to work harder. We know that from all the gender-based research. You'll work harder than the men, and it'll take longer to get the recognition, but put that aside and just keep working hard, keep focused on what you're doing, and look for the opportunities that support female founded businesses. So that would be that's how I've done it anyway to date.
Great advice. Thank you. We will hand it over now to the new waivers, and a few have already popped some questions into the chat. Melody has asked, would love to hear about how you proved your traction for your startup, proved up traction for your startup. At what point on your journey did that happen, and how did you land your first deal?
Yeah, I feel like, Melody, we're still trying to do that, to be honest. I think the one thing that was very fortuitous for us was that ANZ sponsored the She Starts program. So I got to know the ANZ people through She Starts, and female, senior female leaders in ANZ. I have found senior women in businesses to be really supportive, actually, of trying to get other businesses into their companies. I don't know if that's just my experience, but that's been great. So I was lucky to have senior females within ANZ that were very passionate about mental health, passionate about stress, and really wanted to give us a go. So they found the opportunity to do that. And then the product proved itself. So they continued with the product. So that was sort of how we got our first deal, which was great. We did have to be, you have to be very mindful of what's going on around you, though, because we had a number of enterprise deals about to go at the beginning of COVID last year, and they all stopped because enterprises were just, in crisis mode. So we had to really regroup and think, what are we going to do now? So I've spent basically 6 months. I invested some of my own money, which all the investors will tell you never to do, but that I chose to do that, and I will get that back in terms of a loan down the track. But and we basically purposed the platform to be able to service small business customers, because we had a real demand from small businesses to help them. So the platform became fully self-service. You can download it from our website and be off and running. And then we've started to get some small businesses come on. So we're starting to get some traction in the small business space. And every time we get a customer on, really important, talk to your customers, understand why they're buying your product, what works for them, what doesn't work for them. And then you have that great knowledge base that you can apply as the product goes forward, not just to sell it, but you can apply to evolve the product. So yeah, that's how we got started.
Thank you. And Cindy, I see you've dropped in a question to the chat. Do you want to come off mute and ask your question?
Oh, hi, Danielle. Loving your story. I just was interested, because it's you've been at it, 2-3 years now, and it's a challenging journey. So, it's a roller coaster. You have some fantastic wins, and then, I'm sure you have some challenges along the way. So I just was interested in that motivation that keeps you going every day, just to keep pushing ahead and yeah.
Yeah, look, Cindy, it is a roller coaster, totally. But I've got to say, I love it. Oh my God, I just love it. I think that I struggled in corporates because I always wanted to do things differently. So I was the really annoying one that was like, oh, but our customer said this, and should we try that? And so when I got out of it and started my own business, I'm like, oh, no wonder that was so hard. So I love the fact that I get to run my own business, that I get freedoms, that I get to really explore and innovate and be curious about things, and I get to have an impact on the world. So I think the reason why I stick with it even when it's hard is because I fundamentally believe that we'll change the world for good. And I just feel like that's my purpose to do that in this way. So that's what keeps me going. And actually it's a really good journey. So when I say it's hard, I know that can scare people off. I want you guys to be prepared if this is your first kind of entrepreneurship kind of, foray into it. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. Just be prepared and be resilient. But for me, I love it. And I can't imagine doing anything else, actually. And I can see the next question from Sandra: take the plunge to be a full-time CEO or having to support your family. Yeah, that was a challenge, I must admit, because I need to put food on the table. So these kids, they cost a lot of money. But I had some money there. So from a financial stress point of view, I had some money saved. I knew if I needed to, I could use that money. So I had a plan B. You always need to have a plan B. As a woman, financially, you always need a plan B, full stop, but particularly as an entrepreneur, because it's unreliable income at best in the beginning. So have your plan B. So I knew that I had that there. The CEO was interesting because whilst I was very senior in corporate, I was never a CEO. And I think I've grown into the role over the last couple of years. I've started to become more comfortable with making decisions, particularly as it relates to supplies. As I said, being clear on the brief, being clear what you're looking for, being passionate about your business, and being okay to sell that vision, and making decisions that will take you down that track, not down another track. You can be really you can try and do too much and then you do nothing. So as a CEO, you want to make sure you're keeping on track to where you want the business to be. So the decision-making process to start this business felt very organic. I just really wanted to be able to help people. I knew I was good at business, so I kind of started down this line. There's a naivety in a bliss, you know, what do they say, blissful ignorance. I really had no idea what running a startup was like. So I was like, how bad could it be? I'll just do it. I'm sure it can't be that hard. So there was a little bit of that, but as I said, I love it. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing your insights. Yeah, we've learned so much from you and your story, and yeah, we're so excited that you've joined us to kick off New Wave Cohort 8. Just for the cohort, how can they follow your journey and Pioneerer? Do you have socials, or what's your preferred?
Yes, we do. Please feel free to get onto our website, pioneerer.com, and sign up for our newsletter we get a monthly newsletter. But of course, we're on LinkedIn, so we have Pioneerer Group. We have a group site on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. Please feel free to reach out on LinkedIn. And we have Facebook, but I don't really do a lot of Facebook, actually. I think Facebook's not really my thing, but we do a lot more on LinkedIn. And yes, you know, good luck on your journey. I think it's really exciting. It probably seems really scary, but hopefully exciting too. And if I can do anything to help you out, please don't hesitate to reach out. Connect to me through LinkedIn, and enjoy, make the most of the time.
Thank you. Could everyone join me for a virtual round of applause to thank Danielle for joining us?
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
Thank you. And yeah, we'll just head into some final housekeeping to prep them for Monday. So we'll let you get back to it. I'm sure, you know, with COVID, you've got a house full of the kids, so let you enjoy the weekend with them.
Thank you, Kristen. Yes, I will be getting dinner for the kids now. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Stay safe.
Thank you. Bye. Okay, everyone. I will, gosh, she's great. We actually, the first time I met her was cohort 3, would you believe? And that feels like a lifetime ago, but it was only a few years ago. Just sat on my first ever sort of panel experience where I had to interview a founder. She was one of the panelists. And yeah, just really great that she could come back and be here for Cohort 8. And as she mentioned, I think you'll see you can add her on LinkedIn, go onto the virtual schedule and check out her bio. Her LinkedIn link will be on there. Okay, so pre-work for Monday. Don't worry, it's nothing intense. It's just a little bit of pre-reading or pre-watching so you can make the most out of your sessions and the speakers that we have in. So let me know if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen? Slides?
You'll need to put it in presenter mode.
Okay, perfect. So you can see it. That works. Okay. Oh dear.
Thank you for understanding our Zoom faux pas tonight, people.
Sorry, guys. I feel like such a rookie. Need to get back into the. Okay, so you can see it now.
You can see Danielle. Yep.
Okay, perfect. So pre-work for Monday. As you'll see in the schedule, we have an IP lawyer, Nalisha, coming in from Chris Baxter IP. In that, if you navigate to that actual session, there'll be a link to a recording, and you can download a slide deck as well. And basically, it's Nalisha holding an IP for Startups workshop or masterclass for you. So that way we can use that whole 40 minutes where you'll come prepared, you'll watch the session so you can ask questions that are relevant to you, or anything that's you know, maybe puzzled you after watching that presentation. And the design thinking creativity session with Paulina LaRocca, if you go into that session, you'll see that she's recommended a few things to have on hand so you get the most out of the session from home, make it as dynamic and interactive as possible. So anything really that you can play with, whether or not that's pen and paper, or if you have kids at home and you do have access to Play-Doh, that's a really great shout. I definitely recommend you borrow it. Anything that you can get creative and get really inspired. One last thing before we all head off, and I think I've just kind of ruined the suspense a little bit, but anyway, now you know. We have some incredible prizes this cohort. As you can see, first prize is $5,000, second prize is $2,500, and third prize is $1,000. Now, a few of you have asked me about how the money works. As you know, you need to have, as it mentioned, a 75% attendance rate or above to be eligible for the showcase pitching. And to be eligible for that prize money. And if you miss a session, you can make it up by attending one of the coaches, a coaching connect appointments with one of our coaches. The gallery will be shared with you. And it's if your team, not personally. So if you've explained to your team why you've missed one and you've come up with that arrangement, that's fine. That can be sorted out between you. But if your team has as a whole missed more than 25% of the sessions, then you'll be ineligible. Should it get to a point where you've got teams of 4, some teams of 3, some teams of 2, if there's been a team member who has dropped out, not pulled their weight, that we will take personal attendance as well. So we will actually be able to verify that if, we've been told come the end of the program, that person actually didn't really, contribute to the group or do anything, you will not receive any of the prize money. And that's the goal. We split the prize money evenly between participants. So, you've got to be in it to win it. So we encourage you to bring everything you have to this program. And again, if there are any troubles with work or illness and misadventure, please reach out and have a discussion with us. Any final questions before we head off and speak now or forever hold your peace?
Speak now or forever hold your peace. Nice one. But I just wanted to say, I really thought that we're gonna talk more. We would be able to talk more before picking up our teams.
Right. Sorry, I might just stop sharing and bring this into a little bit of a forum. Okay. What do you mean by that? Sorry. So more time to chat to people?
Right. I really thought that today's session would also be about the one that mostly would be about how we can connect to more people. Because the last time I could only speak for like 2 of the startups, and because you want to explain what you do, and there were like so many people in one of the group and another. Just a thought. I had no idea.
Right. Yeah. So I'm sorry that you didn't have enough time. We hoped that the last week people would have been able to either send a few emails to some of the interested teammates or organize some additional meetings outside of that team matching event. If you need help finding a team, I'm more than happy to stay back with you today and we can go through the spreadsheet and see where there are some spaces, or if we have multiple people who haven't found a team, we can always create a new one. So that way, you guys can ideate in a group together and, form your own team. So that's another option as well.
Right. Just wanted to let you know that was my only objective. I think I've got
no worries.
Yeah, I've spoken to
I
someone.
can definitely help you. I can help you
okay.
find a team, but we'll take it offline, I guess.
Sure.
Till everyone leaves, I'll definitely be here to help you. And if anyone here doesn't have a full team who would like to have a chat with Tanya, please stay on the line. Maybe we can organize some additional breakouts. Any other questions, Annabelle?
Yeah, this is just to do with file sharing, but does Slack have like file sharing capability to make a team, or should we do it on Google Drive? Like, what's your advice?
Oh, I would probably do a Google Drive over the Slack group.
Yeah, you can drop attachments into Slack, but I don't believe they're live documents. So yeah, I would recommend dropping, a link in there to then connect you to Google Drive. But yeah, I don't believe Slack has the capability of having live documents.
No, all good. Thank you.
Is everyone on the Slack? I'm assuming yes. If it's the first time you've ever heard of the Slack, please get in touch with me, either direct message me on this chat or give me an email after so I can resend you the link. Oh, yep, Kirsty.
Yeah, look, this might be just me just being a bit of an idiot, but but
Not
I can't. Is there more on the website just about the because that whole prize thing, I missed that completely until you've put that, well, you mentioned it, I think, in the first session. Is there something that sort of outlines the whole program somewhere that I've completely missed?
So we've got the virtual schedule. Have you seen that?
Yeah, on the air table.
Yeah, so that has all the sessions.
Yeah.
That holds all the sessions, but the program culminates in a pitch. So at the end, you submit a pitch recording.
Yeah.
And that, gets judged by a panel of judges, I guess the week of the 14th after it's due. And then the next week we'll have, basically it's pre-recorded showcase this time around because of COVID. We want to do it live, but the circumstances don't allow for it. So it'll be like we've done it for the past few seasons of New Wave, where it's pre-recorded 3-minute pitches. We give you the template. It's already up in the schedule.
Okay, it's in the schedule. That's what I'm missing.
So yeah, if you go to, I think it's Wednesday, and it's the pitch. Basically, in the first week, we have Shahay coming in, and he's our pitch coach. And in his session, you'll be able to download the 3-minute pitch template. You'll be able to download the judging criteria. And in that session, he's going to do a group workshop about pitch decks and about storytelling and what's involved. And then you'll see in the schedule between the 10th and the 12th, you and your team have a private one-on-one space, basically, where you can go and book that now if you know your availability for that week. Just jump on and book whichever slot you want, basically, so within your schedule.
And that's also in that day, is it, the Wednesday or whatever it is? That
not those links, just the template and the criteria is in the first Wednesday, that session. The sessions, the later sessions where you can book the private one-on-one session, is on Friday the 10th, the Saturday the 11th, and Sunday the 12th. He's opened up 21 time slots for the teams. Okay, great. And actually, Viv has put up a question that I was wanting to ask too about the mentor sessions, if they're strictly 2 sessions. Yeah, so they're 2 sessions, 1 per week. Whether or not you continue a relationship with that mentor, that's between you. I mean, we would definitely advise you, when you thank them on your last session, let them know if they want to stay in contact. Let them know if they're interested in staying up to date with what you continue to do, if you plan on progressing with this idea, and just gauge whether or not they're excited to keep engaged with you.
Great, thank you very much. Thanks, Kristen.
No worries. And can I just also point out, if that mentor relationship is only 2, post-program, we actually have, through the Coach and Connect program, access to a portal of, I think, of about 500 mentors who mentor in all types of founders programs. So by going to Coach and Connect appointments after New Wave, that'll give you, I guess, the keys to the kingdom, because you go into those meetings with our program managers and they'll be able to connect you with someone potentially in that mentor database. Oh, Viv, any other questions? You still have any more?
Yes,
Did we
I
answer
have a
it?
question.
Yeah.
I was wondering, could you kind of explain how the Coach and Connect would work, and is that something we should be kind of utilizing within these 2 weeks, or is that something that's after the program?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Great question. So you have the link to the coaches gallery, I believe, in the first email I sent. I will drop it into the Slack again so everyone has it. You can book that on, directly after the session, the Tuesdays, the Thursdays when you don't have sessions. Yeah, you can use that from now up until basically the end of time. You've got access to it for the rest of your lives. So go nuts.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, and Cindy's just dropped into the chat. Coaching Connect is awesome. So she's been, I think, Natalie and Tash are her coaches. They're also our lead New Wave coaches. So we recommend definitely try and get a spot with them first. If not, we've got so many coaches on that database portal. So read everyone's bios and see if you can gauge who would be a good fit for you. Any other questions? Okay, unless anyone interrupts me or pops up their hand, we'll call it. But again, if there was anyone else other than Tanya who had trouble finding a team, or if you're a team leader and you would like to have a chat with Tanya about joining your team, please stay on the line. But for everyone else, we will see you on Monday.
Enjoy your weekend, everyone.
Thank you.
No, Kristen, it's not I have trouble finding a team. I just don't know where to enter all the team names. The names
sorry.
of my team members.
Tanya, have you got the Google Drive, the Google Sheet?
Also, that's from that original Google Sheet from the beginning. Oh,
so
okay.
Tab 4. And just to clarify, if you're a team that came into this with a full team already, you wouldn't be on the teams list final because that 4th sheet is only like for the teams we're trying to match with collaborators. So don't be stressed if your team isn't on there. If you've already come into this with a team, you won't need to put any additional details into that yet. But sheet 4.
Because I can't come in with a full team, so
you did.
So I don't need to enter anything.
No, yeah, if you're a full team, you're fine. This is purely for the team matching purposes. We didn't want to put full teams in there and confuse it, and then you might be inundated with requests.
Excellent. That's all. Thanks, Kristen.
Thank you.
Thanks, Victoria.